The American Express Blue Business Cash Card is personally my favorite business credit card, and it's been a while since I did an update on this card. I had this card for quite some time, and in this video, I want to talk about some of the features this card offers you, and also how this card can benefit you in your business. Let's get into it. And believe it or not, you can still get this business credit card without a business. How you would do that is when you apply, you would apply under a sole proprietor rather than the other business entities, and you will use your social security number rather than an EIN number. And an EIN number is basically a social security number for your business. So that's how you would be able to apply for this card if you did not have a business. But in my personal opinion, the Blue Business Cash Card is a brilliant card for all levels of business, including beginners, simply because you get 2% cash back on all eligible purchases up to $50,000 per calendar year. And if you are to spend $50,000 and that calendar year is not over, for the remainder of the year, you will only get 1% cash back until the new year starts and that number rolls over. And then you'll go back to 2% cash back until you spend up to $50,000. And let's be honest, majority of new businesses or beginners do not spend $50,000 within their business. Some do, but majority don't. When I first started my business, I did not spend anywhere near $50,000, but some people do. Depending on the business you start, it does vary. So I do know there are people that spend way more than $50,000 whenever they start up their business, especially if you're doing brick and mortar. But typically, if you start a e-commerce brand or something that's a little bit more cash friendly in the beginning, or something that doesn't require so much cash flow or initial investment, that is a smarter route to take, especially if you're trying to get all the benefits from a card like this. Also, let's briefly talk about the credit score you would need in order to get approved for this card. And obviously, I cannot tell you exactly what credit score you would need to be approved and all the factors you would have to hit and everything you would need to have in order to truly get approved, but I can at least tell you what will give you the best odds of approval. For example, I got approved for this card with a 690 credit score, which isn't the greatest, but it isn't the worst. To be completely honest, I think you can get approved for this card with a 670 credit score, but you have to have phenomenal credit history and phenomenal utilization, meaning you can't have any negative marks on your credit report. And as far as your utilization, you can't have your credit limits all maxed out. So just make sure those two factors and your credit score is somewhat decent. I think you shouldn't have any trouble getting approved for the American Express Blue Business Cash Card. And if you are going to sign up for the Blue Business Cash Card, if you use the link in the description, it helps the channel out and I would greatly appreciate it. And another cool perk that they're doing at the time of filming this video, they were actually doing it whenever I signed up for the card as well. But if you spend $3,000 within the first 3 months of opening this card, you get a $250 statement credit bonus. So basically you get extra money whenever you spend $3,000 within the first 3 months. But I actually would not advise that, especially if you don't need to spend the $3,000 within the first 3 months on your business, because that's how you get yourself in debt. And obviously, because the Blue Business Cash Card does have other perks, like the first 12 months there's no interest, which is extremely good. But sometimes when running business, things can get tough. You can get a little bit behind, and sometimes it takes a year to make that money back. But you do not want to build interest on top of the money you spent, especially if you're trying to scale your business. That's not something you want to worry about. So if you do not need that $3,000 within the first 3 months, don't go out of your way. Spend naturally, and if you naturally hit the $3,000 within 3 months, that's a plus. You get $250 on your statement credit, which is great. And the point that I'm about to make now, this is the difference between a personal credit card and a business credit card. But when you use a business credit card, it does not report to your personal credit. Meaning, if you were to have a $2,000 credit limit and you were to spend $1,000 on your business, it does not report to your personal credit. The only time that a business credit card reports to your personal credit is one, when you are applying for the card and you are approved and you take the offer, and two, is when you do not pay your balances off. So for example, if you spend that $1,000 and you have a minimum balance to pay every month and you do not pay that minimum balance and you ignore it, and you ignore it until they report it to the credit bureaus, then that will affect your personal credit. So obviously pay all your payments off in full. Try to do that every month, even though it is a business credit card, which I do it a little bit differently, but for the sake of this video, still pay your credit card balances off in full every month so you can avoid any kind of trouble or hurting your credit in any type of way. But what I am trying to say is if you were to max out your business credit card, it would not affect your personal credit. The only way it will is if you do not pay your minimum balances the way that you're supposed to. And due to the fact that I said that, say you did that same exact thing with a personal credit card. You had a $2,000 credit limit and you spend $1,000 on that personal credit card. Then you are using 50% of your credit card utilization, which credit card issuers will recommend you only spend 30% of your total credit limit. But me personally, I would say keep it at 10% because it's just a lot safer. But credit card issuers would recommend 30%. Now you spent 50% of your total credit limit, which will affect your personal credit score because your credit card behavior shows a lot to lenders if you are very responsible or if you're not responsible. When you spend over that 30% threshold of your credit limit, it shows lenders that you might not be the most responsible person to lend to. So this is why that's extremely important. A lot of people would recommend you keep it at 10%, which I also fall into that category, but it is possible that you see this from other places like Experian, Credit Karma, and other places like that. Even banks will recommend you keep it under 30%. But like I said, if you want to play it extremely safe, keep it under 10% of your total credit limit when you're spending on your personal credit card. But this does not apply for a business credit card, and that's where a business credit card shines. And another thing we can't ignore is after those 12 months of no interest, whenever you do have interest, the interest rate that is on this credit card is 18.49% up to 26.49%. That's a pretty hefty interest rate. So you want to avoid that at all costs. And if you do have money that you have to pay or a remaining balance, you want to try to pay that as quick as possible so that interest rate does not get tacked on every month, because it's going to feel like you're paying for that forever. And trust me, this is coming from somebody that fell into that trap. So you want to avoid that at all costs. And another cool perk that comes with the Blue Business Cash Card is it does not have an annual fee. And some personal cards have an annual fee, as well as business cards have a hefty annual fee. So that's another big perk that I would say you cannot ignore. And in all my videos, I like to say if you're not comfortable using credit cards, or if you use them as a lifeline or use them for what they're not intended to be used for, I would say avoid applying for this credit card, period. Don't even worry about it, because honestly, it's very easy to get trapped in a credit card or trapped with those fees or trapped with a lot of debt. And that's not the objective here. If you're truly responsible and just using it as a tool or using it to get a little extra cash, that's what the cash back is for, or using it to offset certain purchases, then by all means, this is a very good business credit card and I would highly recommend it. But with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.